Yes. So the hand, if we can. So sort of following it by quarters, the first quarter 2014 here. So we're in the middle of the first quarter. So in terms of sort of completing the master plan, the things that I've recommended, the additions to the current master plan, I think are achievable in the next 30 to 60, 90 days at the most to be able to complete. I say that because, again, from experience that we've had working for our clients, to be able to produce that information, I think is a relatively achievable timeline, which gets them their first approvals sometime in the next quarter. And again, that's 6 to 12 weeks. That schedule's up to you all, ultimately, with regard to that. Design guidelines can certainly be started right now. They've got a great team. They're part of that who do this work all the time, and I guess they can probably pull half of it off the shelf and modify it, change the tree types so they're appropriate for the area, look for different lighting, and get going. At least on sort of these initial pieces, give it some structure. And that gets you to potentially in the third quarter, fall, of being able to start off the first phase of development approvals and getting some actual entitlements in place so they can start moving dirt. Ultimately, there's a lot of other schedules that are in there. There's the market schedule. There is the construction drawing schedule to get you there, but that is potential over the next 6 months to be able to start to release development opportunities. And if you go through a rezoning process, it's not 6 months later to be able to start turning dirt. Is actually a pretty normal schedule. We're working on those additional elements that we talked about and the more robust design guidelines over that sort of next year. I think there are things that are going to be done fairly quickly and can be done fairly quickly. I think there's some things that are going to take a little bit longer. I've identified what those are already. Also in the background, you all are working on the development agreement, which I think is probably the hardest thing of anything that you might work on. It might make the affordable housing thing look easy because there's a lot of moving parts for something that large, especially when you're talking about schools and fire stations and sewer capacity and when the plant gets built and ready and who gets allotted development and who pays for what. There's a lot of stuff. A lot of attorneys are going to be paid very well to hash that one out. That's just a normal way that those things go. And so that you can start to talk about potentially midpoint of next year of getting a lot of these things done. And I think it's entirely possible to have in the next year and a half most of these things taken care of. And you may decide that you're far enough along on most of those issues that you may come back and amend the PDD master plan to say, yeah, we've got a separate agreement that we're working on to finish off. I'll use affordable housing as that example. Once we get that done, that's fine. We'll take care of that at that point. But everything else can be released and move forward. So I wouldn't hold everything up to the very end until everything is done. I think there's a point in some of these things you can move that forward. And then that bottom part really is how a normal UDO, new development ordinances, would schedule out. And working on those things over about the next year and a half. So there's a lot of moving parts with that as well. It's actually easier to work with one single master developer than it is to work with the other 400 property owners. They're going to want to possibly do something, so it's going to take a little bit of time on that.